Hey everybody, I had a little glitch there. We haven't done live in a while, but I'm your host, Gene Jackson, and welcome you to Retro Wrestling live here from the Retro Wrestling Archive in Gadsden, Alabama. And we've got a very special guest tonight I'm looking forward to talking to. So let's not waste any time. Let's get him on here right now. Of course, he is a legend of professional wrestling and one of the absolute godfathers of hardcore and deathmatch wrestling. You know him, you love him, the one and only Mad Man Pondo. Pondo, how you doing, buddy?
What's up, man? You know what? To tell you how much I used to sit in front of the TV back in the day, I know what theme song was your opening.
I thought you might recognize that.
But there was always a little city and little cars, and then it would go off into space. And
Yep. That's it right there, man. That old HBO thing. I was trying to figure out something good for what had a retro feel to it that wasn't necessarily wrestling, and I come across that, and I'm like, that's perfect. So I thought, and as soon as I clicked that button, I'm like, Pondo's going to know exactly what this is. So that's awesome.
I knew exactly what that was.
Well, it's good to see you, man. How's things going for you? What you been up to recently?
I mean, been sitting at home a lot here lately, but 56, I'm still wrestling. Just got done doing stand-up comedy last night. I mean, I'm surviving day by day. How about you? What are you up to?
Doing the same, man. I'm doing these podcasts, do a lot of nostalgia wrestling podcast, and I hadn't been on stage in a while. I've done quite a bit of stand-up comedy in my time. I was producing some shows called Main Event Comedy here about a year or two ago, and kind of stepped away from it. But I was really that's really a topic.
Do it again and invite me out.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, man. That's kind of something I wanted to ask you right here off the top. Like, quite a few wrestlers have now started kind of taking to stand-up comedy. What do you think? I mean, I know for me personally, and I'm sure you can co-sign this, like when you start trying to get into comedy, it's very, very similar to trying to break in the wrestling business. The traveling for no money and all that jazz, and getting your foot in the door.
For me, I find there's bigger babies in comedy than there is professional wrestling. I don't know if you've come across that or not.
And more politics, more bullshit, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was surprising to me. Like, I didn't think you could find any more like politics and backstabbing, like dumb shit like you do in wrestling. But comedy may even be worse, dude. It's
exactly. I said the same thing you just did. I didn't think there'd be anything that would produce bigger babies than professional wrestling, but that comedy that beats its ass right there.
But man, it scratches that performance itch. It's but you're still wrestling, so you're not really having to replace anything. But I don't know what draws you to it. Is comedy something that you had a deep love for, much like wrestling growing up?
Yeah, I mean, I've been to a bunch of comedy shows. I went to see Eddie Murphy Raw on his tour, the Raw tour in Carbondale, Illinois. I saw Stephen Wright. I saw Carrot Top. Here recently, the Louisville Comedy Club, I went and saw Hans Kim, Chris Porter. What's that guy's name, Terry? David Koshner. I went and saw him.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been going, and then I just got the fever. Like I was doing it before, and those babies got the better of me, but now I've got the itch back, so I've been doing it. It's probably about my 7th time.
Nice. Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. I go through spells. I'll get an itch and I'll do it for a while, and then I'll, like you say, start getting pissed off at all the dumb shit, and then I'll kind of get away from it again.
That's right.
Dude, you got to get out to Austin. Like, I could see you being a big hit on Kill Tony, like, because Tony loves wrestling, and then with the comedy aspect, and then, I mean, God knows what they would have you do up there besides during the interview portion. But man, I think you would be a big hit on there.
So, yesterday in the meeting, all the comedians was talking about, man, I wish Kill Tony was around here. But what they don't realize is, number one, I watch their comedy, and maybe that's what they call it, but it's not what I call it. But you only get 1 minute.
Yeah.
So I think it'd be a lot more difficult than what you really think that it would be.
Well, the reason I think you would be great at it because as the people who are getting discovered there and is getting over there, the 1 minute of comedy really doesn't even have shit to do with it. Like they get over in the interview,
Right.
being entertaining and engaging in the interview. And I
Right.
think Tony would find you so fascinating with your wrestling connection and the death matches and all the people that you know. I think you would get over with him in the interview, no matter how the minute of comedy went. And man, I don't know if it's going on where you're at, but like I'm in Alabama. Everybody's trying to create their own Kill Tony things where
Oh,
they're putting
really?
like 3 open micers on up the stage and they're ripping on other open micers. And it's like, what the fuck are we doing? Like, who are you to rip on them? You've only been doing it 2 weeks longer than they have. It's
Well,
crazy, but that's the
it's
big
just like
thing right now.
everything else, man. Once something gets over, everybody wants to imitate it.
Yeah, for sure, for sure, man. Last time I've interviewed, it's been years now, but I remember I interviewed you right after your first book. And man, what a fascinating book that is. What a fascinating
Thank you,
life
man.
and career you've had. Been kind of going back, skimming back through it the past few days when I knew we had this interview coming up. But you've lived a lot of life since then. And so I hear you've got another book in the works. Tell me a little bit about it and how
So,
it differs from the first one.
so let's go to that first one first. It's called Memoirs of a Madman, and I put so much work into it. But I was just speaking into a tape recorder, and the publisher John Cosper, he was the one writing all the stories. So I asked myself a lot, I'm like, really an author if somebody else wrote it? But this one, uh, I had a bunch of downtime in Japan, and a friend of mine, Christina Harvey, she got her Facebook hacked. And that can happen to any of us nowadays. These hackers are getting so good. It can happen to us on this show right now. You never know.
Yeah.
So I thought to myself, if I got hacked and I had to start my Facebook all over, pictures, stories, memories, how terrible that would be. So all that downtime in Japan, I thought, you know what? I'm gonna write the second book. So the second book is called Pondo versus the Horror Icons, and it's about me going to conventions or movie theaters and stuff like that, and meeting all these horror icons. And the whole book is full of stories of how I met them, where I met them, and great experiences, bad experiences with the celebrities. So uh, I'm the one who wrote this one. Now, my
Nice.
grammar's not good. I still use the word ain't all the time. So I wrote it all down, but John Cosper, he's got a hold of it. He's doing all the publishing and the editing and putting the grammar right and all that. But I wrote this one. So now I will consider myself an author. But yeah, man. So the book is written. John Cosper's got a hold of it. He is doing all the editing and publishing. Sayazawa is doing the cover art again. If you like the first cover
Oh
art,
yeah.
then you're going to love the second cover art. And we have contacted somebody very special to do the forwarding. I don't know if you remember on the other book, Vanilla Ice did the forward for it.
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
I'm not going to tell you who, but we have contacted another special person to do the forward in this one. If it goes through, it's going to be awesome. But if not, that's why I'm not really telling anybody. But
Yeah.
I don't have a release date, but I have a release date year. 2026, book number 2 will go out. And if this one does good, then I've met so many other celebrities that I will be ready to start on book number 3.
Hell yeah. That's awesome, dude. Like, anybody who's followed you on social media over the years have seen all the pictures and all the celebrities you've met, and especially the horror icons. So,
Right.
yeah, man, I've seen those. Like, I bet there's a great story to this one, just telling by what's going on in the picture. So, man, I'm excited for that. I can't wait to read that.
So if you're interested in getting the first book, you can go to Amazon.com, or if you want an autographed copy, you can go to visitdeadpark.com. That's visitdeadpark.com. That's the publisher John Cosper's webpage, and you can get a hold of him for an autographed copy. And no matter how you get the book, if you come to a show and the old signature Crimson Mass is on my face, I will take some ink off my thumb and give you the bloody thumbprint right there on the first page. And the reason I do that is I watched Jurassic Park. So someday when I'm not here, you'll be able to make your own Mad Man Pondo out of my DNA, hopefully.
Those days are coming, man.
Yeah, man, I'm pretty excited about the second book, and that'll be the same information. Once the second book's out, if you want to get a copy, that'll be Amazon.com or visitdeadpark.com for an autographed copy.
There you go, right there on the screen, visitdeadpark.com. So keep that address for both the previous book, and because I can tell you the first book was really amazing. Pondo's story.
What was your favorite story in the first book? What's the first thing that comes to your mind for the first book?
It's as silly as it's going to sound. When you used a piece of Little Caesar's crazy bread as a weapon in a match.
Yeah, Ron Owens, the Indiana Kid, or Don Dash, or whatever you want to call him. Yeah.
That was the most unique story.
He had a lot of heat with me over years, but after a while, he calmed down, and we laughed about it. He passed away now, but we laughed about it before he went. But I don't want to give the story away in case somebody wants to read the book, but I think that breadstick was justified.
Yes, most definitely. And man, all the great stories of Japan, how you got started. I was always curious how you ended up with the name Mad Man Pondo. That's explained in the book. I've always been a huge fan of Tracy Smothers, so there's a lot of great stories with Tracy in there.
Junkyard Dog story.
Junkyard Dog.
Yeah. There's a I like to mess with the scammers. There's a whole scammers page in there. I made it in the comic book for BloodyMidgets.com. There's that's in there. There's a ZZ Top story in there that's very embarrassing, but totally true. So, I didn't just put all the glorified things. I put all the embarrassing things. I wanted people to know that I was telling the truth, and who's going to lie about that?
Yeah, exactly. That was the cool thing about it, is after reading your book, it was, I mean, I know you spoke into the microphone and John transcribed it, but excuse me, but listening to it, you could tell it was your words. You felt like, you had been riding in the car on a wrestling trip and you're just sharing these stories, it wasn't like you was somebody else telling them. And yeah, the good, the bad, the ugly, man, you put it all in there.
A lot of people say that they when they're reading the book, they read it in my voice in their head. Absolutely. Which is pretty cool.
Absolutely, because that's tough to do. I've always wanted to write a book for years and years. This past year, I helped Doug Gilbert write a book about Eddie, and then once we finished that, I helped Wolfie D write his book, and both those guys were both pretty impressed that I was able to kind of take what they told me and apply their voice in the typing of it. And as you read those, we've had a lot of people say they can hear it in their voice, which I took as a very great compliment. And
very great compliment. Yeah.
But yeah, man, that was exactly how I felt, reading that first book. And I can't wait to read the second one. My wife, she always used to on Facebook, would always read when you were screwing with the scammer. She loved going through reading those things. She was like, oh, hey, listen to what Pondo did to this guy, and and she's a huge horror fan. So I know she'll be really excited about this second book as well, because there's been a lot of times over the years, like, oh my gosh, look who we met this time, Hey, look here.
Yeah.
Pat Rose. Hey guys, what's up, Pat? How you doing? Are you familiar with Mr. Pat Rose, Pondo? Southern wrestling legend?
Maybe so. I don't know him. I get hit in the head so much.
He was
I
he was all over the place in the '80s, big in the Southeast, but he wrestled in WCW and Memphis and Mid South and all over. Great
mm,
guy, and he put a book out. I think it was last year. That was a real fun story about his career as
okay.
well. So great to have you with us, Pat. Hope you're doing well, man. And he's now a big time tournament bass fisherman and has a big radio show over there in Chattanooga that people should check out
It's
if they're
always good
into
when
fishing.
it's always good when wrestlers figure out that next step and move forward. That's how I'm hoping that this stand up does something with it.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I would love to see you do some stand up, man. I've had a few people reach out and was like, hey, why don't you produce another show? So I'm looking into that of finding a venue around here somewhere in Gadsden, and if I can pull something together, man, I'll definitely reach out and see if we
Sounds
can't get you
great. That'd
down
be
here.
great.
That'd be a lot of fun. So I had a friend when they found out I was going to be interviewing you message me, and I have to say I co-signed this question too because I was a big fan as well. But he said to ask you, do you have any input on if there will ever be any type of return of $5 wrestling, and if we're going to see the freight train back in the ring over around your parts one of these days?
I just saw Freight Train at WrestleCade, but he's a big time star now, so we said hello to each other across the hallway. But I was in a hurry, he was in a hurry. But man, I loved $5 wrestling. It was me. So Jake Manning started it. Then I got a hold of Jake and said, "Hey, man, I know this company in Cleveland." So he came out to Cleveland. We filmed a whole thing of it, and then we started doing shows together in Charleston and in Jeffersonville. Uh, I don't see a return of $5 wrestling because Jake wanted to be more respectful or more recognized as not being unrespectful in the business. So uh, people hated on $5 wrestling because I mean, we all know what $5 wrestling was, but what people didn't realize was those guys when they're at $5 wrestling, that's their WrestleMania. They're living their dream, and people are chanting their names and they're chanting for their moves. Like it was a good feeling actually.
Yeah.
I'll give you a good story though. In Charleston, West Virginia, me and Jake put on a $5 wrestling show, and we had the idea to put Freight Train versus Little Donnie, the two biggest baby faces in the company. We put them versus each other. So Jake was downstairs and he was recording. So Little Donnie and Freight Train both come over to me, and Little Donnie's doing the talking like, "Hey Pondo, we're both baby faces. We really don't know what to do." And I said, "Well, what you guys need to do is before the match starts, shake hands." Little Donnie turned right to Freight Train and said, "Good luck, Freight Train." And Freight Train said, "Yeah, you too." And then they just started staring at me again. I said, "In the ring, guys, not back here, in the ring." So if that tells you what kind of, if you think the matches were fun at $5 wrestling, you should have been in the back for them going over their matches and stuff like that. I mean, I had a lot of good times at $5 wrestling, but I don't think it will return. No.
Yeah, it's a shame, and I guess it's one of those things. It had its time, and I guess its time has passed. But I got I got to be a big fan of that. I was living up in Kentucky when you guys were doing those Indiana shows,
Yeah.
and when I moved back to Alabama, I created a whole character just because I wanted to get it on $5 wrestling, and they were
Oh,
coming to
really?
Alabama doing some of those Kevin Brannon shows down there when he decided he
Mm-hmm.
wanted to do
Yeah.
$5 wrestling. So I got to know a bunch of those guys, and I ended up getting to work a tag team match, me and Big Donnie against Freight Train in the Red Solo Cup here in Sylacauga, Alabama. And then eventually I got to go to Charlotte and do one of the DVDs where I got to wrestle Freight Train. It was one of the last ones they did. The summer camp show was like next to the last show they did. and I got to wrestle Freight Train for the title. But like you said, like I think a lot of people just looked at it, didn't know what it was, and made assumptions about it. Oh, they're making fun of these guys or they're taking advantage of it. And those guys, like you said, they were stars on those shows. Everybody loved them and they had a great time. And man, it was like you said. I don't know that you could ever really even recreate it again. It was just it was a strange time in wrestling, and it hit at just the right time, and people who got it and loved it, and the other people, well, you'll never come to understand.
Sitting in the crowd was most of the boys. Wrestlers was coming to watch $5 wrestling, so wrestlers knew when to cheer, when to boo. I mean, they made them guys feel great. I do understand people getting the wrong idea. I mean, they've got the right idea. I'm not going to sit here and bullshit anybody. I mean, will these guys ever make it on a bigger scale? No. But when they was at $5 wrestling, was they on their great scale of enjoyment? Yes, they loved every minute of it. And those guys still get a hold of me today and ask me when the next one is. And here's the thing, Jake would rent a van and put them all in one van and drive them to Indiana. I'm not doing that. So I don't think $5 wrestling will ever come back.
One of my favorite stories, I'm pretty sure I heard you tell this one. You know, when Jake and Freight Train like flew to the UK, and I think there had even been talk of him going.
It was
Australia. That's it.
Yeah, a promoter got a hold of me about Freight Train coming to Australia, and I said, "Yeah, I'll ask Freight Train for you right now." And he said, "And is there any way that you could fly with him? We'll fly you both in." Well, I wasn't going to Australia and babysitting no 6-foot huge man, so I said, "No, but I'll get you in touch with Jake Manning." So I called Freight Train and I asked him if he had his passport, and at the time he didn't. And I said, "Well, you really need to get it because this guy in Australia, he wants to bring you in." So time goes on. He got his passport. I don't know if they did go to Australia. I know they did go to the UK with the passport. But one of the Charlestown, Indiana shows, it was me and Little Donnie versus the Burke County Boys, which is Big Donnie and Pork Chop Cash Jr. And we're going over our match, and Freight Train comes over, and if you know anything about special people, they want other special people to know what they're doing that is very, very special. So we're going over our match, and Freight Train comes over and puts his fist down on a table, and he's talking to me, but he's wanting the whole table to hear. He says, "Pondo, when you want me to go to Australia, I figured out how to get my passport." And I said, "Okay, Freight Train, well, we'll talk about it here in a minute. We're going over the match." So we went over the match, and everybody's parted ways. But Little Donnie, he come over to me and said, "Pondo, is Freight Train going to Australia?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Is that because of $5 wrestling?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "You think they would bring me too?" And I said, "Well, Little Donnie, I think they only got enough money for one airplane ticket right now." And he looked down, he started thinking, and he looked at me and he goes, "I'll drive." And I'm like, "Well,
there it is.
I don't know if your geographical map is correct of Indiana, Illinois, Australia, but no, I don't think you're driving to Australia."
Oh, yes, that's what I was looking for right there. The first time I heard that story, I was like, because if you know Little Donnie, because I've been around him quite a bit at this point, I mean, that's him to a T right there. And there was no irony, there was no joking. He was dead ass serious. They were going to drive to Australia.
Well, I get that question a lot from people, like, are those guys really like that? Yes, they're really like that. But what they're not asking is how happy they are to be there. They was always happy to be there. Oh my God, Dynamite to this day keeps wanting me to run another show. Jeff Hart, Mr. Crystal. WrestleCade, Raider Rock bought his own table, and he had me come in and sit with them. Yeah, I'm still cool with all them $5 wrestling guys.
Yeah, Dynamite is something else, man.
He loves himself.
Yes, he is every bit that guy that you saw on the show.
He is.
Buddy Brandon Wheeler says Gene's stand up is great. Well, thank you, Brandon. He actually came to a show I did in Jackson, Tennessee last April. He's a big follower. I've got a weekly USWA review podcast where we go back and watch old episodes of USWA, and he's a listener of the show. And that brings up something else I wanted to talk to you about. I remember seeing you wrestle Jeff Jarrett on TV on USWA. Yeah. And then last year we were reviewing 1993, and when we got to Melvin Penrod Jr., I got to doing some digging on him and found him on Facebook. He didn't want to do an interview, but he did let me call him on the phone. We had a nice long conversation. He told me all about, what went on at the time, and I got to talk about it on the show. Great guy. But I know he had a big hand in you guys know each other, and he had a hand in your career. You want to talk a little bit about him?
Before he was Melvin Penrod Jr., he was the Avalanche. And on June 24th, 1989, on my birthday, my very first match was versus the Avalanche, Melvin Penrod Jr. And we hung out a lot. We would go to different shows. We worked for Bill Dundee together at a furniture store in Evansville. We was working for Shelby Adcock in Central City, Kentucky. Vincent, I mean, we were pretty close there for a while, but he lived in Graybill and I lived in Florida, Illinois. He lived in Graybill, Illinois. I lived in Florida, Illinois. And I can't remember where he moved to now, but he moved pretty far away. I think he's a district manager of some gas stations now. So he's happy doing what he's doing. But, yeah, man, I can't thank him enough. Even my very first match with him, he treated me great. He could have just beat my brains in, but he didn't do it. So thank you, Roy Penrod. That's his real name, Melvin Penrod Jr.
That's what I loved. When he was telling me the story, and he said that they had somehow Jeff Jarrett, I guess, had approached you about, we got this idea for this nerd character to team up with the principal. Do you have anybody in mind? And you thought of him and brought him along, and you guys did a tryout match at the Coliseum. And he said afterwards that Jeff approached him and said, "Man, you'd be perfect." And I don't remember what name he said, but Jeff approached him with some name for the character. And Roy said, I asked him, I said, "What would you think about the name Melvin Penrod Jr.?" And Jeff just lit up and said, "Holy crap, that'd be perfect, man. Where the hell did you come up with that?" And Roy said he pulled his driver's license out and showed it to him. And he goes, "Oh, God, that's your name?" He said, "Yeah, that's my name."
Yeah.
But what a character that was.
At that time, I was hanging out with Glenn Jacobs a lot, the Christmas creature at that time, or Kane, whatever you want to call him. So I was doing all the little spot shows. I did a couple of Evansville shows. And it was mostly Moondog matches, which I was more than happy to do. But we was at TV one time, and I'm sitting there with Glenn. And Glenn's got his Christmas creature outfit on. And Buddy Wayne, are you familiar with Buddy Wayne? You remember him?
Yeah.
He came in and he looked around the room, and the only guy that wasn't on TV was me. So I had a plastic elbow pad and a plastic knee pad on. So he came over to me, and he's got his coffee in his hand. And have you ever been around him?
A little bit.
So you know that his tongue's always going. And he came over to me and he said, "Boy, what you gonna do with that elbow pad and that knee pad?" And I said, "Nothing." And he said, "Well, why you got it on?" I said, "For a show." And he's showing off to the room is what he's doing. He says, "God damn it. That's what's wrong with the business today. All you young kids treat it like a show. If you treated it like a business, we'd still be drawing crowds. But you young kids, you still treating it like a show. And he turned around to walk away, and I said, excuse me, Mr. Wayne. And he turned around, and I said, have you met the Christmas creature? Which made Jerry the King Lark, made the whole room laugh. The whole room fucking laugh. So by the time I got home, this is before cell phones, on my voicemail, I had a message from Kevin Lawler that said, yeah, we probably don't need you at the studio or the spot shows anymore. So my big mouth got me in trouble again, but I'm used to it.
It's almost worth it though, dude. That's a hell of a line right there. Like,
true.
Oh my God, that's tremendous. Yeah, I've talked to I don't know how many people from around that time that Buddy Wayne told them specifically they were what's killing the business. I mean, I know he told Jamie and Wolfie that on a regular basis. Yeah. Both of them have told me separately that Buddy Wayne would tell them, "You guys are killing the business." But yeah, I remember seeing you work, Jeff on TV. And did you get the Memphis TV up in Illinois? I'm sure, right? A version of it.
Yes.
Did you grow up on
it? So where are you at again?
Well, right now I'm in North Alabama, but I grew up in North Mississippi, right between Tupelo and Columbus. So I got the TV5 live version every week. So
nowhere on Mondays. Tuesdays they were in Louisville. No. I'm sorry. They had TV on Sunday. Then they had Mid-South Coliseum on Monday. I think I'm getting that right. They had the Louisville Gardens on Tuesday. I got to see them at Evansville, Indiana on Wednesday.
There you go.
And then I think Thursday, Fridays, and Saturdays were spot shows days. But yeah, that was the little territorial every week thing that everybody complains about.
So I always like to ask this to the different, because I grew up, like I say, I grew up on Memphis, grew up on Continental, and I never got to, I went to a bunch of shows at the Mid-South Coliseum, never got to go to the TV5 studio. So when you went in the TV5 studio that first time, how did it compare to whatever you had pictured in your mind? Was it anything of what you was expecting, or was it exactly what you thought?
So looking at it on TV, you would think that arena is huge. It's not. The camera was always right up against the wall. The longest shot would be Lance and Dave at the podium, at the announcer's booth, but that wasn't that far away from the camera. The ring was real close. The fans, it was so small in there. But for years, I just had it in my mind how much bigger it was, but it wasn't very big at all.
Yeah, that's what everybody says. And in the back, it's like a break. Like you're getting dressed in a break room basically for like the news people and stuff. So. Yeah. So, how was Jeff Jarrett to work with around that time? This would have been around 93 or 4 in that range. 94 probably.
I mean, if you can imagine, like I wasn't good. I'm not good now, so you can imagine how shitty I was then. But Jeff worked with me. The one that took care of me in the back, like when ribs were getting ready to happen to me, and this is gonna sound like bullshit because everybody has so much terrible stories. Brian Christopher would be like, Pondo, don't do that. They're fucking with you, He didn't let the room know that.
Yeah.
But one day they had a box of cookies. All right. And all these cookies was about this big. They had pink icing on top of them. But one of the cookies was this big. And they put Bengay underneath one of the cookies. This one, the big one.
Yeah.
So they was offering all these cookies. Well, of course, I saw that big one. I was going to grab that big one, and Brian said, "No, Pondo, don't grab the big cookie." I didn't know why, but I knew don't grab that. Well, Paul Neighbors, the referee, grabbed that cookie, and he took a big bite of it, and he figured out why. But Um, yeah, man, like I don't think the locker room really liked me. Moondog Spot liked me. Moondog Spot, you know, he'd say, "Hey, I'm going to hit you in the head with this board, but it's just going to split. Your head's not going to split. The board's going to split. Just don't put your hands up." You know, I mean, cousin Cujo, cousin Junior, he hated me. Spike tolerated me, but Spot loved me. And of course, that's what I did 3 or 4 shows with these Moondogs. Just getting beat out, you know, beat up by the Moondogs, but I didn't care. You know, it was I had no business being there. Let's see, what year would that have been again?
I want to say probably about 94, maybe.
Okay, so 89, 90, 91, 92, 93. I was only 5 years in, and not working consistently. So to get to come to USWA, where I was watching every week, I was more than happy. You know, put me in there with the Moondogs. Shit, I didn't care to get beat up. The other one in the area, there was 2 more in the area. Angelo Papo's ICW was running out of Illinois. I mean, they did a lot of places, but they would do it like an Illinois loop, which had Carmi, Illinois. Anyway, I didn't get to work there, but the one that a lot of people are jealous that I would go to is Wrestling at the Chase out of St. Louis, that had like Bruiser Brody, Abdullah, Bulldog Bob Brown, Spike Huber, Harley Race. You know, I mean, that was a good one. But then I would go to Chicago, that just had everything. It had AWA, it had WCCW, it had WWF, and then WWF. A company called Windy City Wrestling. I mean, growing up, man, I was just all over the wrestling scene, going and buying tickets and just watching and learning what I wanted to be, and here I am today. I'm not famous, I'm known, but whatever it is that I learned back then, I incorporate in my wrestling today.
Was there one? I mean, all that different wrestling you was exposed to. Was there one particular guy or one particular match where it went from, man, I'm a fan of this, to, oh shit, I want to do this. I'm going to do this.
Well, as a kid, everybody says that. Here's a cool little fact. So in my grade school, the teacher handed out a piece of paper and it said, draw what you want to be when you get older. So kids were drawing firemen, they were drawing policemen, kiss asses were drawing teachers. I was the only one that had a ring and 2 stick figures going at each other that said, I want to be a professional wrestler. I remember I had to ask my teacher how to spell professional and wrestler. My mom still has that piece of paper today. So if that tells you in grade school what I already told myself that I wanted to do and be, that drawing of that stick, that terrible looking ring with those 2 stick figures going at each other, it's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a professional wrestler. And every kid who goes to a wrestling show tells himself, oh, I want to be this when I get older. But you know, time goes on, and you know, different opportunities, better opportunities get offered to people. But me, I was dedicated on becoming a professional wrestler when I got older.
I remember the first time I saw you, I went to a KEW show at the New Daisy Theater.
Loved KAW. KAW is one of the was the funnest company that I ever worked at. Sitting in the back, of course, I didn't partake, but you know, it was okay to do drugs back there. It was okay to drink alcohol back there. There were strippers that would sit on our laps. plus being wrestling in Memphis, where CWA and USWA, but by then I believe it was called Memphis Pro,
Yeah,
run by
Power
Terry
Pro.
Wilson. KAW was outdrawing Memphis Pro, which to me was just a very huge, big deal. But think about the stars that was coming through there. We had Viscera, Jamie. I think Woofy showed up a couple of times. Sid Vicious. Plus, we was giving them something that they hadn't seen. Like that was my job to jump off balconies or bleed every match. Yeah, man. What did you see me when you saw me
Oh
at
yeah,
KAW?
I saw you jump out of the balcony, and it was like, holy shit, because it was a completely different environment. Like you're talking about it, like it was like going to a party where there was a wrestling ring there. Like it was just the wildest, most fun
Yeah,
environment. And the guy that got me to go with him was like, "You ain't gonna believe this shit, dude. It's wild." And he's like, "There's this dude named Mad Man Pondo. He hits people with a stop sign. Like he's
yeah,
crazy." And then he didn't. I mean, at that point, you had not jumped out of the balcony yet, and so we were there and saw you jump out of the balcony, and we just all the way back to Mississippi. We was like, "What the fuck did we just see? That was amazing." And to this day, I don't think enough people talk about KW. I mean, I got a chance to interview Terry Golden about it a year or so ago, and a lot of people still remember it. And there's a lot of the footage. I got a ton of DVDs over here of it, but man, it just don't get talked about enough. It was so innovative. A lot of people was like, "Oh, it was just Memphis's version of ECW." And there were
I
similarities
agree.
production wise once the TV came along, but
Yeah,
still,
that's a true statement. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, that's what we were going for. We was wanting that ECW feel in a wrestling city that's had wrestling for years. I mean, you was sitting in the crowd. We was drawing 300, 400 people a show because we was showing them something different that they had never seen. And then word was getting out what we was doing. More people started coming. More people started coming. Terry Golden was one of the smartest promoters in that area, if you ask me, doing that.
well, like you said, you never know who was going to show up because they'd have a strong card. But then, like you said, all of a sudden music would hit and there's fucking Sid. You're like,
Yeah.
Sid? What the hell's he doing here? Somebody that wasn't even advertised, they pop up and come out there. And especially, guys that you'd only seen maybe on WWF or WCW. Now here they are in this, bar environment, even though it's not a bar, it's the
Yeah.
New Daisy Theater. And of course, they did run shows in bars. I did go to other shows later where you guys were in bars and things like that. But
I
yeah, like I
wrestled
said,
in
man, it needs to be
Memphis.
talked about more. It was wild.
I wrestled in Memphis for this band, and man, the band fails me. But me and Matt Tremont, we did a death match, not together, versus two other guys in this bar. It was a no ring bar, no ring show, and I I specifically me and the girl I was dating, we went to Jerry the King Lawler's restaurant, and then I'm like, I have to take a picture in front of the New Daisy Theater because that's Memphis. That's where I was
Yeah.
having such a good time at. And it is shut down now. It is not even a music hall anymore, which is really sad to me.
Yeah, I mean, I went to several of those wrestling shows, went to a lot of concerts there over the years. What a venue. And yeah, it's a shame that it's not even a music hall at this point. Was it
What's some of the
should be a
bands you
landmark.
saw in there?
The last one I remember going to see was David Allen Coe, believe it or
Oh,
not.
yeah.
That got wild, and it was never like anybody really well known. It was like usually like nights where they'd have like a bunch of local bands in there. We would just go to drink anyway for the most part. But
So
I guess that's the most well known.
I saw ICP and Cottonmouth Kings in there. And one night after KAW, Jerry Lee Lewis was playing in there. And I would
Holy
always
shit.
go out and read the posters of who was coming, and there was some pretty good names that was coming through
Yeah.
that New Days of Theater.
Yeah, there were a lot of big people that came through. I didn't get to see many of them, but Okay, well, you just mentioned somebody. We can't have an interview without talking about ICP and JCW. I mean, that was the first time I saw you in person. I saw you at KW. I saw you jump out of the balcony. And then my little brother, I had grown up, moved off, and my little brother, I come home one time. He's like, "You got to watch this crazy shit." And he pops in a JCW tape. And we sat and watched that together. And that was like his I mean, I don't know how many times he watched that over the years, but like, the the match like you talked about earlier about, Vanilla Ice doing the forward in your book, the match where he comes out and
Yeah, that's wrong. We're still friends today because of that very day. He I mean, he's a strong man, don't get me wrong, but he was afraid if he hit me too hard with that stop sign that I was going to come back on him. And I'm like, dude, you're Vanilla Ice. I'm not going to come back on you.
yeah.
Fucking kill me with that stop sign, And then he did the staple gun, and that's just something he's never going to forget. So even when he comes, every gathering, if he's at the gathering, he's like, hey, where's Pondo? And we always talk at the gathering. A couple times he's done concerts near me. He's texted me and said, hey, do you want to come out? And I've been backstage with Vanilla Ice. I mean, because of JCW, me and Vanilla Ice are so close. Hell, he did the forward for my first book.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool, man. I'll tell you one thing, there's barely a promoter in the world who doesn't have somebody somewhere that's got some bad stuff to say about them. And I've never talked to anyone who worked for JCW that hasn't said that ICP was like the greatest guys to work for. They always paid everybody. They were always good to everybody. And from what I know from your first book, you're right along on board with that, right?
Yeah. So I really don't have a bad thing to say about ICP. Because of them, I've met a whole bunch of people that I never thought I would. I've wrestled out a whole bunch of areas that I never thought I would get to wrestle at. And in between the Washington Monument and the Lincoln Memorial, I did a speech when the FBI was going against them. If you think about it, presidents and many celebrities right where I did a speech, but for ICP, I got to do a speech. I'm a small town kid from Florida, Illinois, who nobody in my hometown would have ever thought that I'd be doing a speech in that area, but I did because of ICP.
That's really cool. To me, another really cool thing you did with them, you wrestled the legend Terry Funk.
I did. I won the
JCW heavyweight title and won the damn thing, dude. That is can't top that, man. That's amazing.
That's it. Violent J asked me not too long ago in an interview. He said, "Who was it that I was most happy that he put me versus?" Well, he put me in Necro versus Nozawa and the Great Muda. But I said, oh, well, it has to be when you put me versus Terry Funk. He said, it's not when I put you versus Muda. I said, wrestling Muda was a dream come true. It was awesome to do. But every deathmatch hardcore wrestler wants to wrestle Terry Funk, and I got to do that.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, there's an argument made for that Terry Funk's the greatest of all time. I mean, people say Flair, people say Shawn Michaels. I don't know, man. It's hard to make a case against Terry Funk because that dude, he was a straight-laced NWA world champion and was one of the best to do it back then. And he evolved with the times all the way up to the end of his life. He changed with the times and kept staying relevant, and he's as highly thought of in the regular wrestling world as he is in the deathmatch wrestling world. Like across the board, everybody loves that dude, and you can't say that for very many people. Most people have their segment of people who love and respect him, but they're not universally loved and respected. Terry Funk, he's one of the best to ever do it, so that's cool, man.
So in the end, after his wife died, his decline of his health went way down. And he had to be in a nursing home. I would call that nursing home, and the nurses always said the same thing. I would say, "Can I please talk to Terry Funk?" And they would say, "Oh, well, who is it? Can I say is calling?" And I would say, "Mad Man Pondo." And the nurses always said, "Oh, we are so glad when you call because Terry always remembers you." So
Man,
that's
yeah,
something for me.
awesome. We've got a few people who have made some comments here. Let's see. Tommy
Uh,
Todd. Tommy says, "What did Pondo enjoy cracking skulls with better, stop signs or chairs?"
Stop signs. It's got to be stop signs. That's my signature thing. Can't stop Honda.
Exactly. That was all you. And then we both know this guy right here, Frank Mullins, aka Izzy
Yeah,
High, aka American Kickboxer. He said the Daisy was so awesome. Love
yeah,
the Marilyn Manson challenge video.
yeah. You know about that?
I don't. I was going to ask you if you could elaborate on that.
So, uh, me and Crazy Mary Dobson, Sarah Logan, Sarah Bridges, whatever you want to call her, Van Holla, uh, we was working for Resistance Pro, and Billy Corgan was going on the road with Marilyn Manson. So they was coming to Cincinnati. So me and Sarah asked, "Can we asked Billy, is can you get us tickets for your show?" He's like, "Yeah, yeah, no problem." So during the day, he did a little something called the Billy Corgan Experience, where backstage he did an acoustic set, and we showed up for that. Me, Sarah, and a buddy of mine named Shaq. We call him Shaq, Anthony Eves, and we went to the Billy Corgan Experience. So afterwards, all these people wanted to talk to Billy Corgan, but he wanted to talk to us. So he came over to us and he said, "Go over to, I can't even remember the guy's name, his backstage guy." He said, "Make sure you get a green and a gold ring band or wristband." I said, "Okay." He goes, "The green one is so you can use the bathrooms back here. You won't have to go out and use the other bathrooms." He said, "But the gold one is to come backstage after the show. I need you guys to come backstage after the show." And we said, "Okay, great, right?" So we watched the whole concert. Afterwards, we went backstage and we're sitting at a table with Billy. And the first one to come out was Twiggy Ramirez. And Twiggy Ramirez come over and he sat next to me. And of course, I was happy with that.
Yeah.
And about that time, so the table was Billy, Marty Bell, Matthew Justice, my buddy Shaq, Sarah, empty chair, me, Twiggy Ramirez, and next thing I know, um, we're all having a conversation, and Billy looks at me and goes, "Pondo, the Emperor is coming." And I looked up, and here comes Marilyn Manson. I had no idea he was coming out. So he come over to the table, and this is where I think Billy uh, kind of had this plan. He has a thing of Vicks Vapor Rub, and he's rolling it around in his hand. And he comes over and he says, "Hey, Billy," and Billy says, "Hey, what are you doing?" And he goes, "Well, I was hoping to do a challenge with somebody, but I didn't know who to ask." And Billy goes, "Oh, well, why don't you ask this guy right here?" So, which tells me they had this whole thing planned. So
Right.
Marilyn Manson said, "All right, this is what we're going to do." And he sits down next to me. So I am now rubbing shoulders because there's not much room at this table with Twiggy Ramirez and Marilyn Manson. And he says, "We're going to take this Vicks Vapor Rub and we're going to put it in our tear ducts. And whoever cries first is the loser."
Oh,
I thought,
shit.
this will be easy. Dude, that shit. If you ever want to know what it felt like, take a little vial of Vicks Vapor Rub and hold it. Don't put it in your eye, but just hold it near your eye, and you'll see what I had.
Oh, my
So we
God.
put these big drops of Vicks Vapor Rub in our tear ducts. He lost. I won. I wasn't going to let no man who wear a dress on stage beat me. No problem there. But it's all on YouTube. If you want to see the
Wow.
challenge, put Manson Pondo in the search bar, and that'll come up.
Awesome. I will definitely be checking that out. That's crazy. Oh man. So over the years, be it through, situations of people who led to meeting someone else or just going and meeting, who would you say is the biggest star you ever met, or at least who were you most excited to meet of the people you've met over the years?
It would have to be Gunnar Hansen because there was this little convention. It was called Genghis Khan, and for some reason, it just didn't draw. It didn't, the people just wasn't there for it. And it had Herschel Gordon Lewis. It had Reggie from Phantasm. It had Edwin Neal, which was the hitchhiker from Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It had Gunnar Hansen. It had all these great people, but I don't know, man. I would say Gunnar Hansen, but Marilyn Manson's in there. Walking up to oh shit, Hellboy. Fucking, I get hit in the head way too much. Ron
Perlman.
Linda Blair. I mean, just so many iconic people. So I have met. So wouldn't you say the top 4 of horror is Freddy, Jason, Michael Myers, and Leatherface?
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
I have met Robert Englund, Kane Hodder, Nick Castle, Gunnar Hansen, and then I'll even go on. I met Tony Todd, the Candyman. I met Brad Dorff, who was Chucky. I met Doug Bradley, who is Pinhead. I met Linda Blair, who's the Exorcist. All these horror icons that I was going to the movies and loving and never thought that I would ever get to meet, I have met. And it's all in one book coming out in 2026. I hope everybody checks that out.
That's right. Take down this this website right here, visitdeadpark.com. You can get the new book when it comes out. You can get Memoirs of a Madman.
There.
Yes. So check that out. I'm looking forward to it. And yeah, man, we're going to figure out how to get together and do some comedy one of these days. I'd love to see you perform, and would like to get you down here to Alabama. But I don't want to take up any more of your time. But man, it's been great talking to you, and been a big fan for years. I got to meet you at a WrestleCade one time. We bumped into each other, and I like I say, I followed your career, and it's been an amazing one. Like Mick Foley says, whenever he people meet him, they always ask him about Hell in the Cell. What do you find that, when a fan meets you for the first time, what's the most commonly asked question from your career?
How did I survive the bump that me and J.C. Bailey took off the 3 scaffolds onto the barbed wire net? And that's very simple. So it was not one piece. It wasn't cut into 100 different pieces and put across. It was one piece this way, then one piece this way. There was no way we was going through that. So yes, it did cut us. Yes, it did poke us, but we wasn't going to go all the way through that. And that was me systematically figuring that out, what to do with that. But the thing about that bump is I'm so glad I did it with JC. I'm so glad I did the bump. But we get so much hate from just wrestling fans, like WWE fans or Jim Cornette fans. I love Jim Cornette, don't get me wrong, but wrestling fans just don't understand that bump, and they hate on it so much. And I don't mind if they hate on me. Hate on me all you want, but JC's not here to defend himself. Leave JC alone and just realize that. And one thing that I hate, because Jim Cornette said it, and now all these AKA smart fans, they always say, "Oh, I did it for a hot dog and a handshake." Well, I will say that we probably didn't get what we was deserved to take that bump, but that's not what it was about. We wanted to be remembered in wrestling, and And I think we pretty well done that with just that one match.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, you think of, you invested in, there's a story in your first book people should read about how you got your first death match with Ian Rotten. It didn't turn out
Yes.
to be a death match, but you wanted it to be a baseball bat match, barbed wire baseball bat match. And you invested in yourself to get that first match. And there's people who would have said, "That's crazy, man. I wouldn't pay somebody to go have a match with them." But that first step you took is what built to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And here we are sitting here talking about your phenomenal career. So,
Yeah, people. Okay, so investing in yourself is very important. Number one important thing is don't only wrestle in your area. Nobody, I mean, it could happen, but the chances of you getting noticed in your 40-mile area is not as good as you get noticed if you get your ass out there to show after show after show. Yes, you're going to eat some shit sandwiches, but invest in yourself. Spend a little gas, spend a little time, spend some hours, get out there, show people that you want to be known in this business. The second one is, man, so I know you thought that I voluntarily paid for that first match, but the promoter didn't pay him. When I found out that, I'm like, no, bring them. I'll pay him. So it's not like I voluntarily did that, but I did do that. But I'm glad I did that because that same guy, which I don't mention his name, took me on the road. And no matter what he did, I did my own thing. I stayed humble, which he did not. I'm still wrestling. I'm still liked in this business. He is not. So, yeah, man, that's how I did it.
One last thing I got to mention, and you talked about it at length in the first book, but it's one of the things that I find fascinating because for some reason I've always been amused and fascinated with Herb Abrams' UWF. And so for you to have that match early, like how many matches had you even had?
I was only 2 years into the business.
Yeah, and there you are. You pop up on the UWF Fury Hour.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, like I said, you've told the story, but just tell us a little bit about your interaction with Herb Abrams and the living legend Bruno Sammartino, and just kind of a little bit about that weekend.
I'm Captain Lou Albano and Greg DeGeorge. Like when me and the Super Ninja, who was managing Ricky the Dragon Steamboat at the time, when we showed up, Bruno Sammartino and Captain Albano were so impressed with me. They wanted to talk to me, and I'm freaking out. I'm like, I watch these guys on TV. Why are they so interested in me? What I didn't know is Howard Bratney had lied and told them that I could do all these moonsaults and flips and jumps over the top ropes and all this stuff, and I haven't done any of that. So they got really disappointed at the end of the night. And Bruno Sammartino, Captain Lou Albano, and Greg DeGeorge pulled me in this room and's like, "What happened to all that stuff?" I'm like, "Oh, I've never done any of that stuff." So what that was Howard Bratney needed a ride to that show, so he asked me.
Which is like Florida, right?
Yeah, Florida at the War Memorial Coliseum, and he didn't tell me that he had lied and told them that I couldn't do all that stuff. I could have faked a leg injury. I could have done anything. Then 2 years in the business, got in there looking stupid in front of them guys. But I was booked on 3 UWF shows after that. But after that match, I was booked on no UWF shows. But I at least got that one in there. And them talking about Herb Abrams on that dark side of the ring. As we're going, because there's also an interview with Mr. Red, with Super Ninja, and Captain Lou Albano. I went to him with that. On the way to the vehicle, I looked over, and Herb Abrams is just white powdered coked on both nostrils. And I'm like, because nobody else was telling him. I don't know if they was afraid to tell him or what, but I knew he didn't want to go to the lobby with that. So I told him, I'm like, Mr. Abrams, you might want to get that off your nose. So he took his thumb and his finger, he went like this, he looked at it, snuffed it up his nose, and then we went on about our day. So it's not a stretch what they're talking about on Dark Side of the Ring with Herb Abrams. Like, he was a party monster, and it led into his commentary. You can listen to him all excited on commentary, and yeah, all that UWF stories are true, is what I'm trying to tell you.
Yeah, that's an interesting part of wrestling history, and you're a part of it. So that's just another fun piece of the Pondo puzzle there. So I just wanted to mention that because I've done a UWF podcast at one point talking about a lot of that. So I couldn't have you on here and not at least bring it up. So, but man, thank you so much for your time, man. It's been great talking to you, and we'll plug
Thank
the
you for
book when it comes out again. Absolutely, man.
We don't have a release date, but it will be in 2026. It's all done. Just getting it all into the book, and then if you keep following, visit deadpark.com. The release date will be on there.
There it is. And once we hear it, we'll put it all over our social media. And this show will be going out on our audio feed and on YouTube and all throughout all our different. So you'll be getting tagged in this the next few days, and we'll be getting this everywhere to get the word out. So, all right, buddy. Well, take care, and thanks once again. And we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you. See ya.